All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're here at the shop. And in front of us, we've got the 2022 Triumph Rocket 3R. This is their black edition. And guys, you know what time it is. We've got this thing on loan from Triumph. Triumph, thank you very much. We appreciate it a long time. Today's another motorcycle test, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is a massive bike. You guys seem to be a big fan of it on first rides. So in today's video, I want to know how this thing fares in the city. It's a big motorcycle. Moving it around without it moving, it takes a lot. It's very heavy, but I want to know how this big, heavy motorcycle translates into city riding. I want to know what that suspension feels like on the bumpy roads. I want to know what the turning radius is on the tighter roads. I want to know how the power is delivered when we're stuck in traffic. I want to know what the heat is like. That's the stuff I'm going to be looking for in today's video. So, without further ado, let's get to another Chase sacrifices his body for the betterment of the motorcycle community. Make sure to hit that like button if you have any sort of sympathy for me exploiting my body to test things for you guys. And after you do that, we'll get the video started. First, we got to do a little bit of highway though. Let's get it going, guys. Keyless start. Now guys, before we get going, I got to pay some bills because you guys know we got to pay bills for that beautiful camera car footage. So let's jump to a sponsor real quick and then we'll get this thing into the city.
What's going on, guys? This video is brought to you by Revzilla's Riders Plus membership. What that is basically a membership program that only costs $60 a year, not a month, but a year, and you get a ton of rewards from it. It's kind of like Amazon Prime for Revzilla. So if you're buying a lot of motorcycle gear, especially on Revzilla, this could be really interesting for you. Check out all of the things you get for this. So you're gonna get free 2-day shipping and returns. You're gonna get 10% off exclusive brands. You're gonna get 5% cash back, period. Also, for you first-time members, you're gonna get $15 in cash back from the moment you get this membership. It's also gonna include early access to sales and phone lines and exclusive events. So if you're somebody that buys a ton of gear and could find a lot of value in this RPM thing, by all means, we'll have a link for you down in the description below. Thank you guys for supporting the show by going to that link. And thank you, Revzilla, for sponsoring this episode. We'll see you guys with the rest of the show.
Well, guys, I know we're testing the Rocket 3R in the city today, but I got to be honest, I didn't expect to be testing traffic this early in the video. But we find ourselves kind of here on the highway, just kind of slow crawling. And one of the things that I'm noticing off the top of the, top of the video, hey, we're here. In slow traffic, the throttle's feeling really good. You know, we've got a lot of like slamming on brakes. This 4Runner in front of us doesn't know how to slightly give brakes. But the brakes are feeling smooth. I can, smoothly engage them if need be. Clutch feels pretty good, a little heavy, a little heavy for traffic like this. So the thing about the bike that I'm noticing right now is that when I'm in this kind of slow moving traffic, I feel that the weight of the bike is pretty down low. It's got a low center of gravity, which is good. But the thing I'm noticing is how long the bike is. When I'm having to make adjustments in the road, if I'm looking for cars in certain lanes and I'm moving around like this, I'm starting to get a sense of how long the bike is. I noticed this when I was looking at the camera car footage for our first ride video, and the bike looked so much longer than it did in person. You can 100% feel that length when you're in slow moving traffic. I will say when you're up to speed, it's more of like these big tires. You guys, you've probably seen the front tire on this thing. It's massive. That is what makes you feel kind of lethargic on this bike at speed. But here in slow traffic though, I think you're feeling the length of the motorcycle. Now when we get up to about 35, not too bad. Kind of goes away at this point. So I'm not really sure what the speed is, but there's a speed. that really exacerbates the length of the motorcycle with the when it comes to steering. A little bit tighter brakes there. Really impressed with the brakes on this thing. This is a lot of motorcycle to have to stop. And granted, they've got big boy Brimbos all over the place. Phenomenal job though on Triumph. This is kind of where the bike shocks me, is how smooth a 2500cc motorcycle can be. But we got a lot of city left to do, so we'll see how it goes. So guys, we're now off the highway, and before we get too far into the city, I did just want to comment the highway trip down. Now keep in mind, we're going to be handling the highway test of this motorcycle in another video, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but the highway felt pretty solid, very powerful, very capable on the highway, but there is a lot of wind. That was the main thing I noticed on the highway, and granted, there was a couple spots where I was getting on it probably a little too much, but how do you not on a 2500cc bike? But anyway, we'll handle more of that on the highway test video. If you guys want to see that, make sure to hit the like button and let us know in the comments. We will make sure to do that ASAP. Here is the first of many, I'm sure, red lights we'll be getting today. Transmission's feeling good. Haven't had any problems with the transmission. Gets into neutral very easily. Loving that. I am starting to feel some heat on my under thigh right here, which understandably there's all the headers right there. Starting to feel some heat, and we're only early into this video. It's only 1 o'clock, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. That's getting a little warm. We'll see how she goes. This is the test, guys. This is that stopping of traffic. Look how big of a bike this is. We're on a hill and it's just barely moving back though. Doesn't it have like hill control or something like that? This is one of those things where, you know, in city riding and testing stuff like this, we're going to be stopping and going a lot, and you guys would probably think that such a big motorcycle would be really hard to handle here in the city, but from what I've noticed at these stop signs and red lights all over the place, the bike's center of gravity being so low helps it be far more manageable in the stop and go that you're going to be doing. Now I will say, in the shop and when I'm moving this bike around, man, you feel every bit of this thing. But if you can just get the bike moving, that weight goes away. It's only when you're not riding the bike that you really feel the weight. The Triumph somehow did a good job. I'm not sure what the weight is. You can insert it right there, Bo. But you really don't feel that weight once you get going. It becomes a lot more manageable. Just be ready. If you're moving this thing out of your garage, it is going to be a nightmare. Or, you know, out of a parking spot. Hopefully you're able to park in a way that you can just ride out. Something else that's going to be really exaggerated on this bike when you're in city riding, guys, is the motor. Now, if I understand correctly, the pistons rotate side to side, and when you rev the bike up, you can notice the bike kind of goes to the side. You're going to feel that a lot while you're riding in town, because you feel it the most when you go from not moving to going. I'm going to say gooing. So because of that, you're going to end up feeling that engine rotate sideways on you a decent amount. Now, it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just something you guys need to keep in mind and be ready for. As I'm sitting here, I can note that little note on the body position of this bike. I've noticed that, you know, we're kind of leaned forward. We're not kind of sitting upright as much as we would on a MT or a naked. And I have found that head checks are a little harder to do than a naked motorcycle. Now, you know, guys, a naked motorcycle, we're totally upright, moving left and right, it's no big deal. But on the Rocket, we're slightly leaned forward. We have an odd body position. We have more of that cruiser, you know, sporty cruiser body position. And I've noticed, especially wearing a book bag like I am today, doing head checks, I have to get in a kind of weird position. I noticed this on the highway, And you know, here in the city, you guys got a lot of going on. We're going to be constantly head checking. You know, you want to stay safe, you want to be vigilant, you want to see what's going on around you. And head checking being a little complicated, that's a big deal. You know, if you're going to be in downtown a lot, you need to be considering stuff like that. So guys, I know for a fact when we take a left right here, this road up here sucks. And one of my big criticisms of one of the competitors of this guy, which is the Harley Sportster S, I know that the suspension on that thing was terrible. Riding through downtown LA when we went for the press launch was disgusting. So that's something I'm going to be specifically looking for. And I'm not standing up. You can't really stand up on this bike. I'm just riding over this. I just want to see what it feels like. This is the reason we take this road, because it's just notoriously bad. I mean, honestly, compared to the Sportster S, this Rocket 3, night and day. That rear suspension is soaking up so many more of these bumps. I remember on that Sportster S, dude, when I was talking and the highway was, you know, a little bouncy, my voice was like, duh. And I mean, like, my voice isn't crystal clear right now going over these giant bumps, but I can tell you guys, just feeling how my back feels while going over this kind of stuff without, you know, I'm not intentionally trying to avoid it at all. The suspension, whatever the rear shock is here on the Rocket, so it is night and day. It ain't even in the same category as that Sportster S. I'm not sure how much suspension travel the Rocket has, but it shouldn't have much. You know, this is a pretty squatty bike. Yeah, this thing's no problem downtown. And I'm not needing to get up. I don't feel like I'm losing any control or anything. I am very happy with this. Yeah, good job on the suspension, Triumph. That alone, honestly, that alone might be enough to make me choose this over a Sportster S. Like, totally honest. That engine braking is a little obtrusive. Like, I don't know if you guys notice my head kind of fall forward every time that engine braking happens. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. Haven't really noticed it too strongly so far while we've had the Rocket, but I'm noticing it a lot right now for some reason. Here's a perfect example of how that low center of gravity is making this bike way more manageable. We're on a road, and in the GoPros it's always really hard to tell, but this road is pretty slanted this way. So I have the bike kind of intentionally leaned more to the left. And with that center of gravity, it's still not even that big of a deal with this motorcycle. I also gotta say, a bike like this with mid controls here in the city is pretty nice. I feel like when I go from a standing, not moving position to an on position and moving, I feel it because of that mid control. Like, I can get my feet to the pegs more effortlessly, and it makes it for a smoother transition from red light to going, which obviously you guys know, if you're in a city setting, you're gonna be doing that a lot. Haven't really thought about that before just now, but really digging that. See, stuff like this, guys, light traffic and just cruising, the throttle feels so good right here. Like, I have the ability to just give it just slight throttle, and this bike is so smooth. That is probably one of my top 3 favorite things. Top 5 if you watch our TikTok video that we did on the Rocket. It just really impresses me how good of a job Triumph did with the power band and the throttle delivery, like delivering the power. You would not think a bike this big and this much engine would be as smooth as it is. Guarantee if you guys go ride one of these, that's going to shock you. That being said, though, in this kind of situation, I love that. You know, it's smooth, it's not jerky. The last thing I want in the city is a jerky motorcycle. You know, I got enough shit to worry about, guys. I ain't wanting to have to worry about my bike ripping forward. Now, granted, if I gave this thing some beans, it would rip forward, but it's more of the ability to modulate the throttle softly, and the bike is just okay with it. It doesn't care. I mean, this thing's got 163 foot-pounds of torque. It'll go at any point, any time, any gear. This thing will gladly go, but you can be soft with it, and it'll be soft with you. Maneuvering's a little more complicated, you know, like doing little right turns like we just did. It is going to be a little harder to do on a Rocket, and kind of what we were talking about on the highway, where this motorcycle feels really long. You're going to really notice that when you're taking a dramatic turn, like a right turn like we just did. that's when, you know, that same situation where you can start feeling that this bike is a long bike. You know, you're turning the handlebars almost ahead of when you think you should to navigate a turn correctly. It's kind of crazy. You know, one of the downfalls of this bike, we were talking about the body position, how I'm kind of leaned forward. You know, I can't look over my shoulder as well. But something I'm noticing, I've got a book bag on because we're going to be doing some photos up here. Having a book bag on feels really good with this body position. You know, it's not all the way lean forward like a Super Sport, but this kind of like slight lean forward, kind of enjoying that. Like my book bag's kind of resting on my back. So if you guys are the type of people that commute to work or class or something, and you know, I most of the time I have a book bag on me while I ride. If you're somebody like that, definite pluses for the body position here. I tell you, man, I did not expect as many looks on the Rocket 3 as I've been getting. I don't know if it's the blacked out version or if it's my leather jacket and I got the whole get up going on. This thing is a looker. I catch people like staring at this thing, and I don't know, it's kind of cool. It is a vibe, though. I've told you guys in previous videos, like this bike is such a vibe. You got this, you know, especially if you lean into it with that leather jacket on and all. We got the carbon Atlas 3.0. We're doing it fancy with this thing. Gets a lot of looks, though, and that's a blacked out bike. You know what I'm saying? That's like all blacked out stealth looking. Now I'm starting to feel heat in my right foot. We've been sitting in traffic for a hot minute, and that heat is building. I would say from 0 to Panigale, aka 10, probably looking at like a 5 or 6 right now. And my foot, and then my leg's probably a 7. My leg being like this, kind of my back of my knee area. For you guys wondering, the mode that we've been in today, we've been in sport mode the whole time. So that's even with the sport throttle mapping, and it's still as smooth as it's been. So even more of a reason, because, you know, I could have put it in rain mode for down here. I don't want to really test that. I feel like the bike would default be a little better if we did that. So I want to actually try this thing out. I don't think a lot of you guys are going to buy a bike like this and ride it in rain mode unless it's raining, you know. So you guys can see we're just kind of barely moving in traffic, and I'm having no problems balancing it. I'm going to put that off on the low center of gravity because the steering is, you know, pretty heavy, but I'm able to have no problems with, you know, just going under, what is that, 6 or 7. You know, we're creeping. All right, guys, we're going to pull off, grab some photos, and we will be right back. If you want to check the photos out that I take, we'll be posting them over there on our Instagram at C2WPics. All right, photos are taken. Here they are right here. Now you can't see them anymore. Now you have to go. Now you're teased to go to the C2WPics Instagram. You know, guys, I have to say my expectations were a little low on the Rocket and how it was going to do in the city. But now, having ridden it around, it's not perfect by any means, but I'm very happily impressed with this thing. Like, in this environment. Or I guess just in general, too. Yeah, let's not kill me, please. Thank you. That is something that I noticed. You guys saw that car about just come over on us. And that's a comment I saw on the first ride a lot, is for as big as a bike this is, it is very quiet. We just saw what a quiet bike has potential to do. And what that has potential to do is not let people around you know you're here. Now, obviously, we've got a stock exhaust on this bike. You know, we haven't outfitted it with an aftermarket or anything, but that's just something you guys need to consider when you're looking into this motorcycle in a city setting where people are really distracted. Might want to look at getting a louder exhaust just for the fact of presence. One of the fun things about this engine, guys, is we literally were about to stop and we're in 3rd gear, and this bike just has such a high level of torque. The gearing almost doesn't even matter. It revs, the gears are pretty short, but here in downtown I can be in 3rd gear about to stop, but it's got so much torque it can just pull you out of stuff, which I kind of love. Respect for bikers. Thank you. You're awesome. Thumbs up for those people. But yeah, that torque is fun down here, man. It's like I'm in third gear. Should I shift down? Nah, I'll be fine. And then you are. You got 163 foot-pounds, you know. Tight turn, looking at the ground clearance, no problem. Obviously we had to slow way down, but had that ground clearance, no problems. That is something that this bike makes you think about, is the ground clearance. And if you're a traditional cruiser rider, that probably doesn't even come into your mind. But as somebody that's coming from a naked motorcycle, this is something that you will have in your mind when you're taking slightly tighter turns. You're like, am I going to scrape? Am I about to scrape the ground right now? I've only scraped the pegs on this thing a few times. It ain't that bad. And it's only when I've been coming into a turn pretty hot. I've never scraped it going slow. That might be something you guys worry about. You know, like I said, if you're coming from a background like I was. But I think a lot of people are probably going to be used to this mid-control setup. I would much rather have mid-controls here in a city setting and have to worry sometimes with scraping than I would, you know, having like rear sets or something like that. All right, guys. So, summing this thing up, guys, I am borderline shocked at how good this rocket just handled the city. Now, granted, it got a little hot, sure. Granted, the bike's a little long and the steering's a little heavy. I totally agree. But those mid-controls, this low seat height, the low center of gravity, all of these things kind of put together the smooth throttling. Even though it's a 2500cc engine, this thing performed very well. I would have never thought this. So guys, I guess this isn't really a video of like, can it handle the city? But if I was to answer a question, can the Rocket 3R handle the city? Bro, absolutely. And now that we're on the highway, check it, on the way home, we got cruise control. Woohoo! Golf clap to Triumph, man. You guys did a phenomenal job making a whale of a motorcycle easily be able to dominate the tight streets of Atlanta. Nice job, guys. And for you guys watching the video, if you got to this point in the video, thank you so much. Please make sure to hit that like button. Helps us out a lot, and then make sure we do more videos like this. And if this video helped you out, it's another reason to hit that like button. All right, guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. I appreciate you riding around with me. If you enjoy motorcycle content, make sure to subscribe here on YouTube, and we'll see you on the next one. Later. All right, outro crew, as we leave the city. Would not have expected this. Did you guys have the same expectations I did? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. And if you're in the outro crew, all that means is you made it to the end of the video, the outro of the video, and that makes us appreciate you guys just a little bit longer. When you drop that comment down in the comments, make sure to put OC in it, because that way it stands for outro crew. That made me and the guys, when we see your comment, we're like, that person, they know what's up. All right, guys, y'all go out there and ride safe. We'll see you on the next one. Later.